It's a beautiful day here at the state capitol. Great day to be a Satanist. I believe it, and I'm very excited about it.
To some, this group is seen as mischievous trolls, but the Satanic Temple says it is fighting for religious freedom.
A British man who took on a goat's eye view of the world has been rewarded for his efforts.
Because we're all completely trapped inside our own brain and our own perception of the world.
I can't make this stuff up. Thomas Thwaites had a set of prosthetic legs built and spent 3 days living among goats in the Alps. He did it because he wanted a simpler life.
The legendary Baron Samedi, folks. That's Saturday for those of you who speak French. Voodoo god of cemeteries and chief of the Legion of the Dead. The man who cannot die. But for our purposes, just a performer in a little musical extravaganza we've cooked up for you wonderful people.
My choice of Asian tigers is Japan, South Korea, and Singapore.
We have the big tigers, China, India, and we also have the emerging tiger cubs, so like Indonesia as well as Vietnam.
I would think Vietnam, India, and also Indonesia. So these are countries or economies which actually has already experienced very fast growth even before the pandemic.
From a manufacturing perspective, I would expect Vietnam and Thailand to actually step up. If I look at it through more of a domestic economy perspective, that's India, Indonesia, and probably Vietnam.
We embark on a journey to the vibrant lands of Haiti, where a potent and fascinating figure reigns supreme in the spiritual realm named Baron Samedi. In the heart of Haiti, a land marked by its resilience and teeming with a rich blend of cultures, lies the intriguing religion of Vodou, a significant part of Haiti's cultural fabric. Vodou introduces us to a pantheon of deities known as the Lo. Among them, a figure stands out, both for his audacious character and his vital role known as Baron Samedi. With his signature top hat, black tuxedo, dark glasses, cotton plugs in the nostrils, some style reminiscent of a corpse dressed for burial in the Haitian tradition, Baron Samedi is a sight to behold.
We all know you don't get successful just by having a good idea or working hard. You get successful by being lucky too. If I had to support my family growing up instead of having the time to learn how to code, if I didn't know that I was going to be fine if Facebook didn't work out, then I wouldn't be standing up here today. And if we're honest, we all know how much luck we've had to get to this point in our lives. Every generation expands its definition of equality. Previous generations fought for the vote and civil rights. They had the New Deal and Great Society. And now it's time for our generation to define a new social contract. We should have a society that measures progress not just by economic metrics like GDP, but by how many of us have a role we find meaningful. We should explore ideas like universal basic income to make sure that everyone has a cushion to try new ideas.
As the Lo of the dead, he is the keeper of the cemetery, the intermediary between the realms of the living and the deceased. Baron Samedi, deriving his name from the French term for Saturday, is a being of contradiction and duality. While he governs over the realm of death, he is equally celebrated as a symbol of life, fertility, and resurrection. Reveling in debauchery, he is notorious for his love of rum, obscenities, and disruption. While Baron Samedi may appear intimidating or even fearsome, it's essential to comprehend his pivotal role in Haitian Vodou.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets.
These comments from former President Trump took the country by storm after Tuesday's presidential debate, sharing a rumor that Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio, ate other people's pets. Officials in the area say there is no evidence to support that, but there has been growing tension surrounding the issue, specifically in 2023 when 11-year-old Aiden Clark was killed in a Springfield bus crash, one that involved a Haitian immigrant who had a driver's license that was not valid in Ohio.
He guides the souls of the departed, ensuring their transition to the afterlife. Simultaneously, his connection to resurrection makes him a figure approached for healing, particularly when all other measures have failed. Baron Samedi, with his raucous laughter and flamboyant demeanor, embodies the celebration of life in the face of death.
Could Baron Trump be the next big star in American politics? The youngest Trump, standing at a towering 6 feet 7 inches, just made headlines with a standing ovation at a Florida rally. Baron, who has mostly stayed out of the spotlight, stepped into the limelight with confidence, and the crowd went wild. This moment marks a significant turn in the Trump legacy, with the audience showing massive support for the young Trump. As Baron waved and smiled, the cheers grew louder, hinting at a future where he could play a more active role. The rally wasn't just about politics. It was a powerful display of public affection for Baron. Will Baron Trump follow in his father's footsteps? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure.
His presence serves as a constant reminder of mortality. Yet he encourages us to embrace the vitality of the living, the joyous, and even the licentious aspects of existence. Beyond Vodou, Baron Samedi's impact has extended into popular culture. His striking image and intriguing narrative have inspired characters in films, literature, music, and video games.
Don't you disrespect me, little man. Don't you derogate or deride. You're in my world now, not your world. And I got friends on the other side.
And you take a look at the people of Haiti. I was at a little Haiti the other day in Florida, and I want to tell you, they hate the Clintons because what's happened in Haiti with the Clinton Foundation is a disgrace. And you know it, and they know it, and everybody knows
Secretary
it.
Well,
Well, very quickly, we at the Clinton Foundation spend 90% of all the money that is donated on behalf of programs of people around the world and in our own country. I'm very proud of that. We have the highest rating from the watchdogs that follow foundations. And I'd be happy to compare what we do with the Trump Foundation, which took money from other people and bought a 6-foot portrait of Donald. I mean, who does that? It just was astonishing. But when it comes to Haiti, Haiti is the poorest country in our hemisphere. The earthquake and the hurricanes, it has devastated Haiti. Bill and I have been involved in trying to help Haiti for many years. The Clinton Foundation raised $30 million to help Haiti after the catastrophic earthquake and all of the terrible problems the people there had.
You guys have got to try the cold chai.
I've had it. Talk about vice presidential possibilities with Senator Warren.
You guys have got to try the cold chai.
And a special thanks to the members of the Roosevelt family who are here, and to one who is not, Eleanor, who made sure that the 4 freedoms were included in the preamble to the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in 1948. I know that because, as all of you famously learned when I served as president, my wife, now the Secretary of State, was known to commune with Eleanor on a regular basis. And so she called me last night on her way home from Peru to remind me to say that Eleanor had talked to her and reminded her that I should say that.
That's an echo, gentlemen. Just a little something we have here in Louisiana, a little parlor trick, don't worry. Sit down at my table, put your minds at ease. If you relax, it will enable me to do anything I please.
The Haitian Revolution, a pivotal moment in history, saw Napoleon Bonaparte's ambitions crumble in the face of Haitian determination.
Napoleon, Alexander the Great, Donald Trump, we're all cut from the same cloth.
In 1802, Napoleon dispatched a mighty army to quell the rebellion and reinstate slavery in the prosperous colony. The ensuing battles were fierce, but the Haitians, led by Toussaint Louverture and later Jean-Jacques Dessalines, refused to surrender. Yellow fever further crippled the French troops, paving the way for their eventual defeat. On January 1st, 1804, Haiti proudly declared independence, becoming the second independent nation in the Americas and the first to abolish slavery. This historic victory stands as a testament to the indomitable spirit of the Haitian people and their unwavering quest for freedom.
I can read your future, I can change it around some too. I look deep into your heart and soul. You do have a soul, don't you, Lawrence? Make your wildest dreams come true.
Thanks a lot for inviting me. It is an extremely important question. How do you do that? Haiti, it's not only about women inclusion, it's about inclusion for its people. For example, in the last FinScope, 46% of the population, adult population, is excluded. So in order to have all these people included, you need partnership, you want private, public, you want governmental, non-governmental, putting policies, align policies all together in order to find the right what's work for these people.
I got voodoo, I got hoodoo, I got things I ain't even tried. And I got friends on the other side.
Where am I? Grandpa? What are you doing here?
Chris, welcome to the Skull and Bones Society. This is where the most powerful men in the world are groomed for their futures. Every president, every CEO, every douchebag named Ryan Seacrest. The Skull and Bones Society has been a part of my family for decades, and we want you to become a member.
Really? Wow, cool!
You both were members of Skull and Bones, a secret society at Yale. What does that tell us?
Not much, because it's a secret.
Is there a secret handshake? Is there a secret code?
I wish there were something secret I could manifest.
322, a secret number?
There are all kinds of secrets, Tim, but one thing is not a secret. I disagree with this president's direction that he's taking the country. We can do a better job, and I intend to do it.
You were both in Skull and Bones, the secret society.
It's so secret we can't talk about it.
What does that mean for America? The conspiracy theorists are going to go wild.
I'm sure they are. I don't know. I haven't seen the web.
Number 322?
Excellent! You get your own stock portfolio, a percentage of the 9/11 Victims Fund, and the best medical care on the planet. You'll be kept as healthy as a horse.
He's got friends on the other side.
We have before us the opportunity to forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
The cards will tell. The past, the present, and the future as well.
Hello, everyone. This is your favorite president, Donald J. Trump, with some very exciting news. By popular demand, I'm doing a new series of Trump digital trading cards. You all know what they are. We've had a lot of fun with them. It's called the America First Collection. 50 all-new stunning digital trading cards. It's really something. These cards show me dancing and even me holding some bitcoins.
Oh, the cards. Just take 3. Take a little trip into your future with me. Now you, young man, are from across the sea. You come from 2 long lines of royalty. I'm a royal myself on my mother's side.
Here's the best part. Each physical trading card has an authentic piece of my suit that I wore for the presidential debate. So we'll cut up the knockout suit and you're going to get a piece of it.
Your lifestyle's high, but your funds are low. You need to marry a little honey whose daddy got dough. Mom and Dad cut you off, huh, Playboy? Now y'all gotta get hitched, but hitching ties you down. You just want to be free, hop from place to place. But freedom takes green. It's the green you need. And when I looked into your future, it's the green that I see.
I've just always been into drawing. It takes tons of time to come up with a character, and then eventually it was Pepe. It's a happy little frog. We like drinking and hanging out. It became Boys Club.
It's one of the funniest comics of the last 10 years.
Feels good, man.
That was the frame that started it all.
PP is the best.
Pepe became a meme. I didn't even know what a meme was. There were all these boys trying to own each other on the message boards.
In drops Pepe, right for the tail. He had gone dark. The white supremacist movement has taken over Pepe the Frog.
Pepe escaped out there into the memosphere.
It got so big that you couldn't reverse it.
It seems incredibly random that this frog is going to represent white supremacy.
Creating memes gave people who had never been involved in politics a way in. It was like making the internet real. I'm just a spectator to how things kind of evolve on the internet. It's a window into this dark place.
Then it started to get strange.
Pepe has permanently altered the course of history.
On you, little man, I don't want to waste much time. You've been pushed around all your life. You've been pushed around by your mother and your sister and your brother. And if you was married, you'd be pushed around by your wife. But in your future, the you I see is exactly the man you always wanted to be. Shake my hand. Come on, boys, won't you shake a poor sinner's hand?
Nonsense!
Since this hot mess of a three-way has a handshake gotten so much attention, clocked at almost 19 seconds, this became the handshake that left the Japanese Prime Minister shaken.
Start the car! But just watch his expression at the end. I feel you.
For a guy who once called the handshake barbaric,
I'm also very much of a germaphobe.
Donald Trump has been risking germs galore with his over-the-top handshakes, many of which include a yank, be it his Supreme Court nominee or his VP.
I warn you, Holmes, if you pursue this matter... So, what the...
Forgive the sleight of hand, Sir Charles. In the pursuit of criminals, one learns their devices.
I say, Holmes, what is this mumbo-jumbo?
The handshake and the ring, Watson, are archaic rituals preserved by the 33rd degree members of the secret order of Freemasons.
We are not a secret order.
Your existence is no secret. Your rituals and membership are secrets you guard as closely as you may, which is why you removed the writing from the wall.
I am responsible for the safety of the people of this city and their right to go safely about their business.
Does that include the right to murder and mutilate?
You fool! Jews would have been slaughtered in the streets if I had not had those words removed. Do you know the theory, given greatest credence among the common people, that this is a blood ritual carried out by some Jew whose religious fervor sends him out in search of prostitutes to offer as a sacrifice to his God? If those words had been seen, not a Jew would have been safe. Their houses and their shops would be destroyed.
Nonsense, Warren. The writing had nothing to do with the Jews. You know that as well as I do. You did not remove that writing to protect Jews against anti-Semitic rage. The Jews, or Jewes, referred to, are from your own secret society of the Loyal Order of Freemasons.
We are a benevolent society. We are no danger... This is not the kind of paltry, sordid episode you're accustomed to meddling in, Holmes. And you do so at great risk to yourself. Good day.
Yes. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Transformation Central. Transformation Central. Reformation Central. Reformation Central. Transmogrification Central.
The pull-in, the tug, the yank and pull, the grab and jerk. When he did it to a winner of The Apprentice, it seemed like a tug of war.
Donald Trump can't shake hands right.
The more he likes you, the more he tugs and shakes. Body language expert Chris Ulrich says President Trump starts with a submissive gesture.
His hand is open, almost putting his own hand in like a beggar's pose, giving the other person the upper hand.
But then he reasserts his dominance.
He literally pulls people off their feet.
Hey guys, this is the Militant Prophecy channel, and I wanted to make a quick video about an issue that I think got past a lot of truthers. A lot of truthers did not pay a whole lot of attention to this, and that issue is that Trump's pastor growing up was a 33-degree Mason, and this man's name is Norman Vincent Peale, and he was actually a well-known quote-unquote pastor, but he was also the Sovereign Grand Commander of the Scottish Rite Masonry in New York. He grew up a Methodist at first, but then he became part of the Reformed Church in America. Now, Norman Vincent Peale had a big influence because he was also a personal friend of President Richard Nixon. And then when Trump was growing up, Trump actually attended his church. And it's very clear that this man had a huge impact on Trump's spirituality. As a matter of fact, whenever Trump is asked about him, he just gushes over Norman Vincent Peale. And if you remember the famous interview where Trump is plainly asked, do you ask God for forgiveness? Are you a Christian? And what Trump does is he just refers to Norman Vincent Peale. I mean, he just gushes over Norman Vincent Peale and just talks about how he enjoyed his preaching growing up, and how much he just had a huge impact on his life. And then he's just asked plainly, have you ever asked God for forgiveness? And Trump says, well, I don't do that. I don't, ask for forgiveness. I just try to just correct something if I just try to do better every day and just try to do good every single day. So clearly you can see where Trump's spirituality is at, because he was heavily influenced by Norman Vincent Peale, who wrote The Power of Positive Thinking. And basically what this involves is just the name it and claim it. If you can just think about it in your mind and you can visualize it in your mind, then you can achieve it. It doesn't focus anything on God, but just having faith in yourself and having faith in your own abilities. So it just takes the entire positive thinking, name it and claim it, visualize it in your mind. Why it's so wrong is that it's anti-biblical, because it doesn't teach you to have faith in God. It teaches you to have faith in yourself and your own abilities. And of course, this makes sense, because when it comes to, Trump's arrogance, when it comes to him never fessing up to doing anything wrong, according to him, he's never really done anything wrong. He doesn't have to ask God for forgiveness for anything, because, he's never done anything wrong. He's never sinned. So obviously that takes away from the major doctrine of Christianity, which is that we are all sinners. There is no one righteous, no, not one. We've all committed sin. We've all fallen short of the glory of God. Therefore, we have to go to God. We need a Savior. But this positive thinking theology, this name it and claim it, visualize it in your mind, all it does is just puffs up your own ego and your own pride. And of course, it makes sense why this man has such a huge influence on Trump, because that is where he's coming from. That is what he was taught growing up. And whenever Trump is asked about his Christianity, he keeps bringing this man up, a 33-degree Mason, false prophet. Now, this shyster, Norman Vincent Peale, he was heavily criticized by other theologians, other pastors, and even other psychiatrists and psychologists, because of just the way he wrote his books. One of the major criticisms of The Power of Positive Thinking is that the book is full of anecdotes that are hard to substantiate. So almost all of the experts and many of the testimonials that Peale quotes as supporting his philosophy are unnamed, unsourced, and unknown. So, for example, in his book, he will say something like, a famous psychologist said this and this, or a practicing physician once said this and this, but none of that can be substantiated. So he's called out for poor references, poor quotes. He's criticized by other pastors, theologians, and even other psychiatrists. But yet, this man has a huge influence on our president. Even Peale's own father had a very interesting quote in his book, Spirits in Rebellion, and it's on page 391. And he says, he tells his son, you have evolved a new Christian emphasis out of a composite of science of the mind, metaphysics, Christian Science, medical and psychological practice, Baptist evangelism, Methodist witnessing, and solid Dutch Reformed Calvinism. So his dad even admits that he takes a little bit of false doctrine here, a little bit of false doctrine there, a little bit of metaphysics, a little bit of New Age spirituality, a little bit of psychology, and just kind of mixes it up and just puts it into a big pot of, false prophet stew.
off their balance for a moment.
And he often seals his alpha handshake with a pat, a hand hug. But when SNL's Trump shook with Vladimir Putin, it was Putin who tugged and patted Trump. At least a long handshake gives photographers time to get their shots. When the president asked about the Japanese photogs,
What are they saying? Please, look at me.
Instead of turning to the photogs as requested, the president gazed at the prime minister.
Thank you, everybody.
On Monday, Canada's leader shook President Trump's hand, but he held his own, resisting any tugging, and inspiring headlines like Trudeau one-ups Trump at the handshake game.
Can you feel it? You're changing, all right. I hope you're satisfied. But if you ain't, don't blame me. You can blame my friends on the other side. You got what you wanted.
And we'll be randomly autographing 5 of them, a true collector's item. We'll be talking about it for a long time. Thank you very much. Have a good time.
Let the fight begin.
Mr. Jones owned a cotton plantation and many slaves. One day he was talking to the owner of the plantation next to his, and Mr. Jones was lamenting the fact that times were tough. He was having to work his slaves harder than ever, and was having trouble with some of them being disobedient or trying to run away. The other plantation owner said he knew someone who could help.
Day 1.
One day Mr. Jones called his slaves together so a man named Mr. Smith could talk to them. Before beginning, Mr. Smith whispered to Mr. Jones, "Whatever I say, do not contradict me or interfere, and I promise you your slave troubles will end." "My name is Mr. Smith," he said to the slaves, "and this may be the happiest day of your lives. From today forward, you will no longer be slaves, but free men." Mr. Jones was so shocked he started to step forward, but Mr. Smith gestured for him to remain silent. He did, only because the other plantation owner had spoken so highly of Mr. Smith's skills. "You are no longer the property of Mr. Jones," Mr. Smith continued. "You are free. No more will you be forced to labor for the benefit of Mr. Jones. Now you can work for yourselves." Now the slaves were all murmuring and looking at each other. Many were smiling, many were looking puzzled. "In fact, you are now free to leave the plantation whenever you want," Mr. Smith said. "However, since we are surrounded by other plantations, if you leave, some other plantation owner will likely claim you as his own the moment you set foot on his property. So I urge you not to risk your newfound freedom by doing something so foolish. Instead, I suggest that you stay here, no longer as slaves, but as willing participants and part owners of this plantation. Yes, this is now your plantation." Mr. Jones bit his tongue to keep from objecting. "For now, we might as well leave Mr. Jones in charge," said Mr. Smith, "since he's the only one with any experience at running a plantation, which is quite a complicated thing to manage. But he will no longer be your master, but just another worker on the plantation. In fact, he will now be using his organizational and management skills to serve you. Whatever problems you may have had with him before, you are now all equals, and you need each other to make this work. If we all cooperate and work together, we can all reap the benefits together. In honor of this happy occasion, I present you this new symbol of togetherness and cooperation, this flag, which shall be the emblem of the new free Jones plantation." He held up the new flag, but most of those listening were still too amazed to respond. "And this shall be our motto," Mr. Smith announced. "We work together as free men for our mutual benefit, pledging our allegiance to the Jones plantation, which stands for prosperity, liberty, and justice for all. To celebrate, everyone has the rest of the day off. Enjoy your freedom, do as you please, and be back here tomorrow morning, bright and early, so that we may begin work on this great and noble new endeavor as equal free men." Finally convinced that Mr. Smith was serious, the former slaves applauded and cheered.
Day 2.
"We all want this plantation to do well," Mr. Smith said at the beginning of the next meeting, "so we can all share in the benefits. We all know that it takes a lot of effort to make a cotton plantation work. Just because you're all free doesn't mean you can stop working. In fact, since you're now working for yourselves, I expect you to work even harder than ever before, but now with pride and joy, knowing that you're working for yourselves. Of course, there still have to be rules. If everyone just does whatever he wants, the plantation won't produce anything. This experiment will fail and we'll all starve. You should be thankful that Mr. Jones has agreed to stay on to lend his knowledge and skills to this endeavor, and I trust you will all do your own part to make this work. Several of you have been chosen to act as project supervisors to manage different aspects of the operation, to make sure everyone is doing his assigned job, to make sure that the rules are followed, and so on. The rest of you may head out in the fields to start your first day of work as free men."
Day 3.
The next morning, Mr. Smith had a grim expression on his face as the daily meeting began. "I have an unpleasant duty to do today," he said. Yesterday, Charles was caught keeping some of the cotton he picked, presumably to sell for his own personal profit. That is against the rules. That is stealing. For that, Charles must be punished. 2 men tied Charles to the whipping post. I take no joy in this, Mr. Smith continued, but you must understand, if we do not maintain order, if we do not have rules that we all abide by, then the plantation will fail, and we will all suffer. The whip cracked against Charles' back. But if we all pitch in for the common good, then we can all prosper. Being free doesn't mean you should be selfish and greedy. We must each do our assigned duties and obey the rules, and then we can all benefit, and each of you will receive your appropriate share of the profits. A young man named Samuel stepped forward. But if you and Mr. Jones decide the rules and whip us if we disobey, how is that any different from what we had before? How can you say that? Mr. Smith asked. I'm shocked. You were a slave before, and now you're free. Things still need to be managed and organized by those best qualified to do so. Do you know how to run a plantation, Samuel? Well, no, he answered. But if we're free, why do we get no say in what the rules are and how things work? I'm surprised at your ingratitude, Mr. Smith answered. None of you know how a plantation is run, so you're in no position to be making decisions about how things are done here. You don't seem to appreciate all the things that Mr. Jones provides for you, from protecting you from all the outside threats you know nothing about, those who would come here, capture and enslave you, if not for Mr. Jones' protection, to making sure that you all have food and housing, tools to work with, you're cared for when sick and injured, and so on. There wouldn't be a plantation at all, no cotton to pick, no land to plant and harvest, if not for him. You should be grateful that he's made possible the level of comfort you now have. Your lives would be far worse if not for him. Nevertheless, as free and equal participants in this endeavor, from now on at each meeting, any worker may have 2 minutes to ask questions or voice suggestions or complaints. With that, the workers all seemed satisfied and headed out again to the fields to pick the cotton.
Day 4.
I have a big announcement, Mr. Smith said as the day of the meeting began. Mr. Jones' cousin is here, and not just to visit and see how our project is coming along. It has been decided that from now on, you will be deciding who will manage the plantation. Of course, this job can't be done by just anyone, but every 3 months we will have a special meeting at which all the workers will vote on whether we think Mr. Jones should run the plantation or whether we think his cousin, Mr. Johnson, should run the plantation. That means that ultimately you are in charge because you will be deciding which man you want running things on your behalf. If you don't like the way things are being managed, you now have the power to change it. Amazed and pleased, the workers headed out again to the fields to pick the cotton. Days passed, months passed, a year passed, and the plantation continued to operate as before. Sometimes Mr. Jones was in charge, sometimes Mr. Johnson was in charge, but the day-to-day routine stayed exactly the same. The workers worked hard, long hours every day, and still had little to show for it. Every day the meeting would begin with them all reciting the Jones Plantation motto, "We work together as free men for our mutual benefit, pledging our allegiance to the Jones Plantation, which stands for prosperity, liberty, and justice for all." One day Mr. Smith announced, "Samuel is asked to say a few words this morning, and whatever the rest of us may think of his ideas and opinions, we are all free here, and that means we are all allowed to speak our minds. So, Samuel, you have 2 minutes. Begin." Samuel stepped forward, looking scared. "I was excited when all this started," he began, glancing nervously at Mr. Smith and Mr. Jones. "But don't you all see what's happened here? Nothing's changed. We're all still slaves." There were grumbles of disagreement from the crowd. "They tell us what to do and whip us if we don't. They still make all the rules and punish us if we disobey. They let us make suggestions and complain about things, but they never really change anything. They let us choose between Mr. Jones and Mr. Johnson, but what's the difference? The situation stays the same. We do all the work and they take as much as they want and decide how much they'll let us keep. They live in luxury, made rich by the cotton we pick. We do all the work and have to build our own huts, grow our own food, and take care of ourselves. They leave us just enough that we don't revolt or run away. This is not freedom. We're all still slaves. They've only changed the words they use, but nothing else has changed. They say we're all free and equal, but we're not. They command and we obey. That's not freedom. That's not equality. They say we're free to leave, but all that means is that we're free to be someone else's slave. Why should we work or obey the rules? We didn't agree to this. They made the system. They forced it on us. They control and rob us and call it freedom. They've deceived you into thinking that being able to choose which slave master you'll work for is the same as being free. It's not. Open your eyes. If you keep what you produce, they call it stealing. When they take what you produce, they call it sharing and fair distribution. Can't you see that this is all your time? Ease up, Samuel, Mr. Smith announced calmly. At his gesture, 2 supervisors grabbed Samuel by the arms and led him to the whipping post. "I'm sorry, Samuel, but you've broken the rules. There are rules against encouraging others not to work and encouraging others to break the rules. You're only hurting all of us with your discontentment and your complaining and your disobedience. The whip fell and Samuel let out a grunt. Without rules, without order, all would be lost. Without law, there would be chaos. We can't just behave as wild animals, each doing whatever he pleases. We must all follow the plan and all do our duty for the betterment of everyone. And those who do not must be punished. The whip fell again and blood flowed freely from Samuel's back. Samuel, it is you who are stealing from the others. When you don't do your assigned work, you are making more work for others. When you disobey the rules, it is you who are endangering the future of everyone else here. You are the thief. You are the criminal. You are the one trying to destroy the arrangement that keeps us all safe and prosperous. At every lash of the whip, the other workers cheered louder and louder, some yelling curses at Samuel. Being spoiled and selfish, you complain about everything, talking as if you're oppressed. But you are the one ruining things. You are the one keeping us from being all we could be. It is your greed and your rebelliousness that is hurting all of us. They all play by the rules, Mr. Smith said, gesturing at the others. What makes you think that you don't have to? You think you're above the law? There were loud yells of agreement as the whip fell again. We must maintain order, Mr. Smith proclaimed, to make this plantation great, to make it so that we can all be happy and prosperous. To have the society we want, there have to be rules. We all have to contribute our fair share to this great endeavor, and we cannot tolerate actions and attitudes that seek to undermine the amazing things that together as free men we have achieved and will continue to achieve. Mr. Jones was smiling as he gave Mr. Smith a pat on the back. The crowd was cheering so loudly that none of them had noticed that Samuel had died.
Woo! Oh, be quiet. Why are you guys so anti-dictators? Imagine if America was a dictatorship. You could let 1% of the people have all the nation's wealth. You could help your rich friends get richer by cutting their taxes and bailing them out when they gamble and lose. You could ignore the needs of the poor for healthcare and education. Your media would appear free, but would secretly be controlled by one person and his family. You could wiretap phones. You could torture foreign prisoners. You could have rigged elections. You could lie about why you go to war. You could fill your prisons with one particular racial group, and no one would complain. You could use the media to scare the people into supporting policies that are against their interests. I know this is hard for you Americans to imagine, but please try.
In the sins of, in this particular case, America, reaching into the heavens, God's only going to put up with so much of it.
What is winding up Diane?
Magicians. I think they're quite needy people, generally. Whenever I watch them, I'm never entertained.
That's quite a negative review.
Isn't it?
Really?
Yeah.
I love it.
I don't. There was one, I went to a restaurant and there was one that was going between the tables, between courses, and showing you a card trick. And then he'd finish the card trick and he'd wait. And you can't just go. You've got to go, oh, that was good. How did you do that? So you feel like they're getting more out of this than you are. I think it starts with parents giving kids magic sets. Because if you give a kid a magic set, that's like a starter kit for a psychopath, isn't it?
I never had a magic kit, I must admit. Is it a common gift for children?
For psychopaths, yeah.
Okay.
before judgment comes. It's just the way it always works out in the Bible, every single time. When that happens, I don't know. Jeremiah 7:28, but thou shalt say unto them, this is a nation that obeyeth not the voice of the Lord their God, nor receiveth correction. And when you see the images of these things, it's like, wow, yeah, they're definitely not obeying the voice of God. Okay? This is unbridled just carnality and debauchery that's being glorified, essentially. And witchcraft. Really what a lot of this boils down to is witchcraft. Is what they're participating in a mass witchcraft event. Which ultimately the goal of Satan regarding that also would be to usher in the Antichrist and false prophet through all of this negative energy that devils and demons literally feed off of. The common denominator of the one world religion under Antichrist. You can take an amalgamation of every single false Black Death cult, whatever ism you want to pick, Buddhism, Catholicism, whatever, all of these works-based death cults, and amalgamate them into one system with witchcraft as its backbone, and that is what I believe will be the coming one world religion under Antichrist and false prophet. I mean, this whole concert is nothing but pure evil. What goes on there the whole weekend is pretty much all pure evil.
The NTSB is now joining the investigation into the Titanic sub tragedy. They're trying to figure out what went terribly wrong, killing all 5 people on board. This comes as there are new questions about the safety of that sub. ABC's Melissa Adon has the latest, including what one man who almost ended up on that sub is now saying.
An investigation into the catastrophic implosion of the Ocean Gate submersible is ongoing after the journey to tour the Titanic wreckage ended in tragedy for the 5 on board.
I'm sure they won't be able to say we're 100% sure that this exact thing is the cause.
Industry experts had warned OceanGate's experimental approach of using carbon fiber construction could lead to catastrophe for Titan. But CEO Stockton Rush pushed forward with his sub without certification, what they call classing.
We've made thousands and thousands and thousands of dives and have never had an incident. So this is the first time, and the smoking gun is this is the first time by a submarine that wasn't classed.
It was a bitter cold but sparkling clear morning at Cape Canaveral. Here, the last seconds of the countdown.
3, 2, 1, and liftoff. Liftoff of the 25th Space Shuttle mission, and it has cleared the tower.
All the communications between the shuttle and mission control indicated everything was going fine. There was a sense of relief that the much-delayed flight was finally underway.
Engines at 60%.
65%, 3 engines running normally, 3 good fuel cells, 3 good APUs. Engines throttling up, 3 engines now at 104%.
Challenger, go at throttle up.
Challenger, go at throttle up.
It happened just over 1 minute into flight.
1 minute, 15 seconds. Velocity 2,900 feet per second. Altitude 9 nautical miles. Downrange distance 7 nautical miles.
From Mission Control, silence. Then the bland, chilling report.
We have a report from the flight dynamics officer that the vehicle has exploded. Flight director confirms that. We are looking at checking with the recovery forces to see what can be done at this point.
At 11:40 a.m. this morning, space program experienced a national tragedy with the explosion of the Space Shuttle Challenger approximately a minute and a half after launch from here at the Kennedy Space Center.
And chose that which I delighted not. Psalm 97 verse 10. Ye that love the Lord hate evil. The purest of heart can only find the key evidently to Tomorrowland, when it's the exact opposite. The event that they put on is, I'm talking like, they are spending millions upon millions of dollars to put this on. So, what does that tell you? This must be very important to Satan.
In the heart of the wilderness, where the cover of night unveils the wonders of the dark, a remarkable journey is about to unfold. The majestic tiger prowls through the forest, stealthily traversing the shadows. Amongst the emerald canopy, a nimble lemur leaps from tree to tree, guided by a melody carried through the breeze. Slithering through the foliage, a snake elegantly navigates its way. As it slinks towards the nocturnal revelry, it seeks the rhythm that resonates deep within its being. And so they all converge upon a mystical haven, where pulsating beats intertwine with the wonders of the night. Join us as we witness the cosmic equinox come alive. Welcome to Nocturnal Wonderland.
When you're in a party and you hear this, ravers, put up your firelighter, top. When you're in a party and you hear this.
Go forth and that this prosper. All these different images of this literal city that they erect in the confines of this Tomorrowland, nether dream-like Alice in Wonderland, Walt Disney, Satan world. This is a whole other level of satanic things that they're trying to do in order to get you as demon infested as possible.
When you're in a party and you hear this, M69 right up. When you're in a party and you hear this,
I mean, it's just unreal. And one man is footing the bill, a multi-billionaire. The music is a techno music, binaural beats is the so-called music. It's propaganda that's getting them ready for the world teacher, Maitreya. Likely candidate for some type of... He claims he's everything. He claims he's the awaited one world savior of all the major religions, okay? That's what he says. I'm not saying he's the Antichrist or the false prophet, but I do believe he's going to play a pretty major part if he's not one of them. 2 Corinthians 4:4 says, "In whom the God of this world," meaning Satan, "hath blinded the minds of them which believe not, lest the light of the glorious gospel of Christ, who is the image of God, should shine unto them."
Try not to understand, because it is impossible.
It's going to get more and more overtly occult as these things develop. I mean, Burning Man's totally in-your-face occult. I mean, that's just flat out, we're witches, we're here, we're New Age, we're here to work witchcraft. We're gathering together because there's more power. You know, this has been almost like programming that's been put into humanity's mind for a long time. Now it's more of a manifestation of this. This is just so far off the scale where this world is heading. The amount of time, effort, money that is being expended by Satan and his minions to implement his agenda.
A future that Ernest Cline, the writer of the book, envisioned. I was very careful with Ernie collaborating with me every step of the way to be able to find the movie narrative inside this dense forest of Ernie's profound imagination.
The Oasis being the ultimate toy box with all the toys in the world, and then playing that with one of the greatest filmmakers of all time. It results in just amazing action and such a fun adventure.
Ernest Cline is such a visionary, and I think has seen the future before any of us possibly could even imagine it.